There you go.
So as this journey continues, Auckland Labour Hire, and you start expanding, and you get into the regions, and you're building, and you become Aotearoa Labour Hire. What was the timeline of that?
It was about 2 years. So 12 months ago, we had 4 branches, and it was next week we opened up our 5th. So in the last 12 months, we've opened up 7 branches, and in the 12 months prior to that, we opened up 2. Another 3. So yeah, a lot's happened in the last 2 years, right? So kind of we've opened up 10 branches in the last 2 years. So it was that was kind of what we started trading in Wellington, and that's how the fit out business came about. Ended up building a really good relationship with the project director of a construction company, who ultimately me and him had a conversation which led to us founding that business together. But I was kind of doing a contract for him, supporting it from afar, and executing that under the name of Auckland Labour Hire, and no one likes Jaffers, man, especially not people in Wellington, you know. And it took me to call him on a private number for him to finally pick up, and I was like, Aiden, bro, it's Izzy, I'm from Gizzy, you're from Gizzy, we owe each other that time. We're both from Gizzy. Oh, fuck, what do you want? He knew I'd been trying to call him. I said, bro, give me a chance at this job that you're doing in Lower Hutt, and I'll give you the labourers. And then he goes, oh, do you have labourers? I said, yeah, I didn't. He said, starts next Wednesday, and it was a Friday. And I said, cool, man, consider it done. And we got 11 labourers on site on the Wednesday. I got on the next flight down, went and stayed at one of my childhood best mates' house, mustered it all up, and then got going. And then, that was kind of it. My progression to Wellington, we changed the name. I stopped staying at Kai's house, which was a flat of 5. Progressed into Mitchie's house, Cam Mitchell, you boys will know. Then I started going and staying with him, jumping on the couch at his apartment. And so it was always a really cool journey. And I look back at it like Auckland Labour Hire, it's kind of like there's been some psychological shifts when we changed it, you know. I'd stopped staying at friends' house because then we changed it to Aotearoa Labour Hire and ALH, and we got going. So that was kind of the transition. It was actually a pretty organic transition. But when I opened, I never thought it was going to be bigger than Auckland.
What pressure did that put on you personally, that rapid progression? Because don't forget, there's COVID in the middle of that as well, right?
Dude, like, I don't say this trying to sound full of myself, but I've never really felt it. Like, I've never honestly felt like there's so much pressure on me, it hurts. It's like, I love that shit. Like, I couldn't just have it in Auckland. I love doing 4 or 6 flights a week. I love being in 3 different cities. I love knowing that I've got to deliver some fucking outrageous growth in this business. And I'm the one that sets the growth targets. It's not my board. They're actually saying, whoa, slow down. Like, fuck, we don't need this many. The goal was to open up 3 branches last year. That was their advice. And I was like, nah, I got more in me. You know, so it's kind of like the pressure stuff, it's almost like fuel for me. The more I know I can deliver and should be delivering, the more excited I get to be undertaking that pressure, which I transfer into positive energy. Like, I love it, man. I love walking into the office knowing that I've got to deliver for everyone in this office, and I love that kind of sense of feeling. You know, I just really enjoy the competitiveness, and you know, people often say your biggest competitor is the guy in the mirror, and that's friggin' true. I wake up every day, look at that motherfucker in the mirror, and think you got to be better than this guy yesterday, and you just got to push, and I love that shit. And being surrounded by competitive people is great for that. You know, my best mate, he's ultra competitive. We competing with each other, who wakes up earlier. You know, we're texting each other, happy Monday, fucking happy Friday, whatever. It's like, oh shit, whose text was it?
You talk about delivering for your staff. But you literally do that as well, and the people are the core of your business, right? You do look after them as best you can.
Yeah.
And does that stem from, just listening to your story without telling it for you, that time in Gizzy, like growing up in Gizzy and seeing what people had to deal with at work and making work a fun place?
Yeah, like, again, going back to the way we grew up, we always did so much more than what other families would do for each other. I didn't realise that until I got out of my family. We always did so much more out of no charge. We would always be doing working bees at one of the uncles or aunties. We'd always be dropping off firewood before the winter set in. We'd go up to Duke Inisho in Gisborne with me and my dad, and we'd chainsaw up the cores, and then we'd go and drop them and stack them around. So it's like we were always doing more than what other people would do for their families. So it's actually just natural that feels like I should be doing more for my people and the people that we have in our office. And that's actually just been a really blessing, a major blessing that I had, that whilst I didn't enjoy doing it, fucking hated firewood. But if I look at it now, it's actually just part of my process.
It's one of the things we have learned, the sense of community and how people enjoy belonging or being part of a group. And it feels like that is, to the people I've spoken to that work in your company, is a real theme. You've got a basketball court in one of your warehouses. You do like team workouts and things, which perhaps other workplaces don't, and which really separates you. Yeah. Is that fair?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's exercise is so important, man. Like, for my two things that I think about every morning. I wake up and I think, today's a fucking great day. I don't want to take my life like my dad did. I'm not in that rut. And today I can wake up and I'm not in hospital with my heart. So those are two fucking wins I have first thing I wake up. Every day's a good day, man. You got to start your day good, and you got to start it positive, and you got to feel thankful for the body you're in. I've never gone to the gym to look a different way, right? I have the worst genetics for putting muscle on, but I go into the gym every day to use my body because I'm thankful I've got a healthy body, I've got a healthy mind, and I just want to get the body ticking, right? That's my fuel, that's my gas station. Get into the ALH engine room, man. Churn some shit out, get some fuel in me,
So we've done this whole story, and we've only briefly mentioned Fit Out Solution, which on its own would be its whole story. So I actually talked to Shay. I was like, fuck, I don't know much about Fit Out Solution. I was like, do you? He's like, yeah, I think so. So I'm going to put him on the spot.
Fuck you, man.
So Shay, what is Fit Out Solution, and what do they do?
My rudimentary understanding would be Fit Out Solutions win tenders for commercial contracts.
Yeah.
And fit out the shells with how they need to be for the client.
Yeah.
Can you give us an example?
Like if ACC are moving their headquarters to Hamilton, that someone has built a building, and Fit Out would come in and make that building inside look how ACC want it to.
Yeah, mate, nail on the head.
Shay, that's
my
guy.
They do a bit of other stuff.
Don't worry about that.
I'm not involved. I'm not involved in it day to day anymore. Brett and Aiden's the CEO. Brett's the 2IC project director. They do an amazing job. They're constantly focused on top delivery, and they're a real pleasure to be kind of doing on their own journey with. But it's their race, and they're running it fucking well. And they're two top blokes. So.
Is your... you've got a Fit Out follow-up? Because I've got another one.
You go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, listening to you talk, is your major contribution now building up the people around you? Like your senior leadership team around you in the branches? Because you can't physically be in every place at every time.
So I've got 13 direct reports, and they're basically all branch management staff and our internal kind of office management and finance manager. So I'd spend 95% of my week communicating and interacting with our branch managers, and it's just gassing them up, man, giving them an opportunity. We're all young. Like I pride myself on giving people an opportunity 5 years before anyone else would, and give them an open canvas to create it how they want. And I love seeing ambition and drive come through this business, and it gets me so excited every day to know that I've got some young, keen, eager leaders that are just out there ready to fucking win,
Your story's fucking inspirational, man. It's so good. I'd heard interviews a few years ago, maybe a year ago, where you talked about goals of like 100 mil in revenue. Is that where are you at the moment, and is that still the target?
That's the New Zealand target.
Hello.
Hello. So we're going for 50 mil this year. This current financial year. We'll get this business to 100 mil in the next 5 years. And we've just kind of we're incorporated ALHPTY, which is Australia Labour Hire. And
the A works so well, doesn't it?
And we've got someone based over there full time at the moment, and we've got a couple of partnerships that we're servicing right now. So we're currently trading in outside of Brisbane, but we'll be basing in Brisbane, and we're looking to do that kind of from early next year. We're just getting everything done in the right way and kind of easing into it. But 100 mil in New Zealand, 100 mil in Aussie, so 200 mil.
Is that the most baller answer between two beers you've ever received? Is 100 mil a target? A New Zealand target.
Man, like it's probably for you boys, you see people, you would have played footy with some boys that know how good or think they're good, how good they are, and it might sound over ambitious when you hear some boys thinking, oh, I'm going to go pro, and they go pro. But they just believed in what the tools that they have, they can kind of go and deliver. And that's how I kind of look at it. I'm like, man, like, I'm a fucking loser if I don't deliver 100 mil, because I've got everything I need to do it. And if I don't, I'm not as fucking good as I am. And that's the accountability I put on myself. Like, there's no way I'd let this business not get to 100 mil in New Zealand. And then there's no way I'm not going to let it do the same over the ditch. That's generally how I wake up and I feel every day, and I don't have 1% of doubt that that's not going to be delivered, and that's not an arrogance or a cocky thing. I just know how much I want this and how much I want it to win, and the people we have in the business right now want it to win too, and it's like, it's going to happen,
It's an insanely impressive mindset, and I'm loving it. I want to dig a little bit. I won't keep you too much longer, but what your day looks like how you actually structure your day, what time you wake up, like what is it?
Yeah, first alarm goes off at 4:45, and I'm kind of up and at it. On a Monday, it's earlier. It'll go 4:15 because I like to
gotta get that Spotify playlist sorted.
Yeah,
get that 10 minutes of curating the song.
Just like to get the I probably put the body through its paces a bit more on a Monday, just knowing I've got a big week and sometimes I might not have as much time in the morning as I'd like. But 4:45, leave home at 5, kind of at the gym at 20 past 5. I'm kind of on the bike at kind of around there, and I just hook into it. I kind of do 30 to 45 minutes of exercise in the morning, and I do a sauna for 20 minutes, and then I'm kind of up at my desk ready to get at it. I always make a conscious effort to be home for dinner, and then I'll have dinner with G, and then if I'm not on the road, and then after that watch a bit of telly, and then the laptop's back open, kind of going through what I need to go through, and but I'll be on the road 2 nights a week minimum, so kind of 4 to 6 flights is my average flights a week, so it's kind of flat tack, but get that in routine really easy.
And what's bedtime if you're getting up in the 4s?
11:30.
Okay, so is sleep not prioritised?
Nah, I actually just think I've, maybe back to the whole upbringing thing. I was never allowed to sleep in, right? So when you're young, you think about, you're up on your phones, you're doing this, your eyes are wide awake, you're thinking about X, Y, Z. So you kind of get to the point where I was going to sleep at 2 o'clock some nights, but Dad would still wake me up at 7. So I was having to learn to operate on 5 hours sleep. So that was kind of part of the parcel. I don't know any different, Yeah.
Never check a bag in if you're travelling.
Never check a bag in, brother. Not even overseas, because you lose time. You lose half an hour either side of the plane.
Talk to us about this time compounding.
I'm the biggest, like that. There's a big priority in my week on compound time, right? Like if I think, all right, if I'm doing 4 flights a week, right, that's 2 hours. That's 2 hours that I can not be kind of sitting around or mucking around checking my bag in, right? That's 8 hours a month, that it kind of stacks up pretty quickly. But compound time for me is like, I always think about it for when I'm working at night. So I always think if I'm doing 2 hours from 9 till 11, 9 p.m. till 11 or 8 p.m. till 10 p.m., my competitors aren't, right? I'm doing 5 days of that. That's 10 hours a week. That's 40 hours a month. You kind of do that, then you kind of end up getting in, you start to kind of get things ticking. I'm doing a whole working week when people are fucking sleeping. And that gets me going, So I'm thinking, actually, over the course of the 7 years we're coming up to now, you sit there and you think, yeah, look like 7 years on paper, but I've fucking done 15 years of work. It's like when I started ALH, you just have to ask Jasper how many hours I was willing to do. Like I was doing 80-hour weeks, like relentlessly. Like I was fucking living in that in the dungeon, man. Like I was grinding, and then you put fit out on top of that for a couple of years. It was you turn into like an alien, and you're just on that grind. So compound time, whatever I can do. I think over a year, if you do 40 hours a week, it's 2,000 hours a year, right? I thought for my first 3 years, I'm going to do 80 hours. So then I'm going to do 4,000 hours a year. So what someone takes 6 years to do, I'm doing 3 because I'm going to be on the grind, right? So when people say, man, you must be so stoked with where it's at after 6 years, I'm at, it feels like 12, brother. It's been whilst on paper it looks like that, I know what we've been able to do here has been fast-tracked through nothing other than ambition and willingness to do more.
The way you are, this super mindset, optimized life, everything seems to be firing on all cylinders, is obviously a result of your upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
But we talked about, it might not have been I'm not sure what the right word is, but it might have been difficult in patches. Do you reflect back on the way that you were brought up in a positive way? Like, did it make you the person you are, and would you change anything?
So I wouldn't change anything. And to probably be vulnerable to getting to the underneath that question, me and my dad didn't have a good relationship from the time I was about 12 to 16, right? We were kind of at each other's throats. It wasn't until I left home that we kind of almost repaired it. He was obviously, looking back, starting to kind of have that real kind of shift in how he was feeling in his mental health. But, there'd be weeks when I was year 9, year 8, I was doing 2 hours before school. I was going to school, 2 hours of mowing the lawns. I'd go to school. I'd go and do 2 hours. I was doing 20 to 25 hours mowing lawns a week whilst I was at intermediate up until I left to Westlake. And then he knew the owner of Bunnings, so I went and did 1 till 6 p.m. on a Sunday at Bunnings. I was working every day from the time I was 12 till I was 16. And we'd get to like breaking point, and there'd be times he'd kind of say, well, if it ever gets too much, just let me know, but I'll know you'll never let me know. Well, you're not really opening the door for me to let you know. And I said, there'd be sometimes you get to breaking point, and there was only 3 times where I kind of felt like this is too much. I need to know why the fuck we're going this far in terms of why you're pushing me like this, because you didn't push your other kids like this. And he'd give me this distinctive look, and he'd say, look, we don't know what we're working for. He said, but you'll thank me one day for the work ethic I'll give you. And I kind of look like back at that, and I think that's the one thing that if I lose sleep on it, it's like I never got to say that to my dad. I never got to say thanks for that work ethic, because if I look at it now, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So going back to it massively, the upbringing is why I am, and I wouldn't change a thing. If anything, I'd probably dial it up a notch, So for me, it's man, I still lived a better life than a lot of people do, and I think it's just understanding and appreciating that there's always someone that has it worse. There's always someone that loses their dad earlier. There's always someone that has a worse living environment. Someone always has it worse than you have it. And it's understanding that and kind of getting that feeling, So yeah, the upbringing is Izzy, and I think that's it. And I'll never be too proud to or beyond knowing that that's where it came from.